This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 142.
Trading is a skill set that can be learned. That it's not like you're born a trader or you're born a losing trader. It's not, you can learn it.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. If you haven't seen The Founder, go see it. Play Trader.
I don't know if it's quite top 10, but it's near the... It's knocking on number 10's door, maybe even number 9. But if you have not seen The Founder, definitely go and see it. My one warning to you is it may make you not want to eat McDonald's ever again. Not necessarily from a health perspective, but just kind of the way things went down. And really kind of the biggest comparison I can make is if you liked the Facebook movie, I can't remember. Ches, who is our co-host, Ches, what was that Facebook movie that came out a couple years ago? With Jesse Eisenberg or whatever his name is. What is that? Are you Google? We need a Googler.
Googling The Social Network?
The Social Network. Thank you. If you enjoy The Social Network, where it's a documentary, but it's not really a documentary because they make a movie out of events. Now, whether or not they all are true or not remains whatever. But the core of The Social Network, I like that format, and that's what The Founder is. And The Founder is all about Ray Kroc, who basically started McDonald's. And fascinating movie. And I just like to, I like business as a whole. I like to build business. I like numbers just to see all that works. And it was fascinating. Even if you don't like whatever, I don't care about that stuff. If you like The Social Network, you will like The Founder. If you like Michael Keaton, then you will definitely like The Founder because he plays Ray Kroc. So, Ches, have you seen The Founder yet?
I got an even bigger confession to make. I haven't even seen The Social Network, and I've definitely not seen The Founder. I'm not I think I've told you this before. I'm not a big movie guy. I don't like small spaces that I'm confined with stuff, so I rarely watch movies. But I need to rent them afterwards, and I always forget to.
I know.
I'm
over it. I don't care. I'm sick of your excuses.
He's looking for a new co-host for the podcast, so send in your resumes.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know what? Let's give some credit where credit's due. At least you're not like, oh yeah, I've seen it, and oh man, I can't believe Wendy's and Burger King got started that way, because that would be, yeah. Because I said
just trying to wing it.
Yeah. I mean, because oh man, The Social Network, yeah, the founding of MySpace, that was crazy.
What a movie, what a story about MySpace.
Yeah. So, anyways, but yeah, The Founder, go and check it out. I think you would like it. So today, awesome. Or I guess you could be listening to this at night. In our show today, I just said the word today again. Anyways, you know what I mean. Ches, I'm reflecting. Episode 1, I would have been so nervous I've made all those mistakes, but now, whatever.
You're just winging it.
Yeah, people know that I just choke over my words all the time. So, anyways, in our show, we have an awesome guest, Greg. He is down in Colombia, as in the country, and so that's pretty cool. We're going international again. And he is very well spoken. He's very thoughtful. He's very good at analogies. And I said this towards the end of the episode, but it's not really out of the norm for me to start throwing chairs around and just as the adrenaline takes over, and then I'm crying because I'm so. But Ches, Greg may be the most ultimate Ches button pusher we've ever had. He had Ches weeping up a storm with just all the great stuff he had to say. And Ches, he got to you. He was pressing your buttons in a good way, wasn't he?
Yes, everybody glosses over a lot of the stuff that we discussed, and Greg just kind of, it's not, I wouldn't say that he sees it from the get-go, but he just sees all these pitfalls that most people fall down very hard and kind of recognizes them like very, very early on. And yes, it's just, he touches on a lot of stuff in trading that most people don't think about. So yeah, I went through like a whole box of tissues. I cried so much.
And, if you are new, and maybe you've never traded, maybe you've only done a couple of trades, but you're feeling kind of like, I feel like I'm walking on thin ice, then definitely this is an interview for you. So without further ado, let's hear from Greg. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
No, we had a few technical difficulties, but Greg worked some magic, and he we are on track, and Greg is down in Colombia, the country, aka South America, and we were talking briefly about that. You and your wife, or your wife is from Colombia, right?
Right.
Okay,
I'm a gringo.
and you grew up in Long Island. So I'm just curious, and this has nothing to do with trading, but this is our relationship part of the podcast. So this is me not minding my own business. But how did you meet your wife then, if she is from Colombia and you were born in Long Island?
Well, the short version is we were introduced by some mutual friends, and at the time she was living down there, I was here, and we ended up emailing a bit. It was almost like a bad Tom Hanks movie or something. And
I was just going to say, this reminds me of something I've seen in a movie one time, a long time ago.
And
That's pretty cool.
She's a medical doctor. When she finished her medical school down there, although she spent her whole life there, she was born in California, so she had the U.S. citizenship. So she ended up doing her residency in the States. So when she moved to the States, that's when we started dating.
Okay. And now she's obviously back in Colombia, so that is where you are. So very cool. And there is our end to our relationship part of the podcast. So now we'll get into stuff that I think viewers or listeners really care about. But I don't know. Ches, are you a romantic like me? Are you glad that I asked that?
I mean, it's a good question to ask, because it's kind of like, oh, are you from down there? No, you're from here. And then he meets his wife, and then she actually was born up here, did residency. No, it's pretty cool. I was glad you asked, because I was kind of wondering too.
Okay, so see, that's how we do things here, Greg. Ches always lets me ask the awkward questions that make me look like the nosy one, but he just reaps the benefits of it. So
exactly, I get all the
props
data
to Ches,
I need.
though. Yes, props to Ches. He's playing it smart. But anyways, Greg, so let's just dig and hop right in. Where did you first kind of hear about the markets, and what ultimately kind of led you and caused you to want to get serious enough about it to want to start to get more hands-on with it?
Well, like probably most people, I knew of the markets, but so I'm 42 now. For the majority of my adult life, I didn't have any interest in getting involved. Everything I'd heard about the markets was negative. It's rigged, you lose your shirt. There was one particular horror story, a friend of ours, she's a retired pediatrician, and her whole career setting money aside, and without her knowing, her husband he just squandered all of it in the market, all of it. And so she didn't find out until she retired. He became very ill. She was taking care of him full time, and she discovered, oh my gosh, where's all my money? And then she realized that he blew it all in the market. And so those were the kinds of stories that I had heard of them. So, the last thing I thought I'd ever would do was get involved in the market. But I had a practice, and I had a business consultant who was helping me out with the business side of things. And he would send daily emails, and most of them were related to the business, but he also sent quite a few that involved personal finance or some were involving real estate, and pretty much everything that came from him was pretty reputable. So one day I got an email, and it said something along the lines of, Dr. So-and-so is going to be doing a free webinar, and he, investing 10 minutes a day, retired at age 39 after doing this for 3 years. And so come to the webinar, find out what it is. So, of course, I was intrigued. And like I said, if it didn't come from this guy, I would have thought this was something fishy. But so I went on. And obviously, it was all about stocks and options. And he basically figured out a swing trading system that he did where he could still practice full time and swing trade on the side. And he, seemed to figure out the system. He seemed like I guess everybody seems like an honest guy at first, right? But he seemed pretty honest. And so I caught the bug and I signed up for his system. And that was my first exposure to the market. I knew enough to know that I had no idea what I was doing. So if I was going to get involved in the market, especially after all those stories, I was going to have to get educated. So
you were gonna look for some kind of guidance. So and Clay, correct me if I'm wrong. I was cringing a little bit when I heard 10 minutes a day and you could retire early. However, to his benefit there, swing trading for the most part, and we preach this in other podcasts and webinars and stuff we've talked about, it really doesn't take that long per day because generally you're not doing anything after you put a position on besides kind of waiting. So I can understand that. Now, I guess for context for listeners, what year was this? Did you kind of go to that webinar and kind of go get involved with that guy?
That was 2014.
Okay, so not too far ago. So this is post meltdown and everything else. Okay, so the market's been going in an uptrend, so that's a good thing. So I guess how did the kind of courses go? So I'm very glad to hear that you kind of recognized you don't want to jump into this blindly, especially after all those horror stories. So how'd the courses go? Are you retired now at age 39 after 10 minutes a day?
Not quite. I wish I was, but no. The courses were good and not good at the same time. They were not good because they were so limited. I think in total content it was about 8 hours, and it was basically he taught one strategy to go long, one strategy to go short, and then he tweaked it just a little bit to do the same buying puts or calls. So, but that was it. But it was so limited, and all the stars had to align for you to enter a trade. That literally, he was only doing like 10, sometimes less than 10 trades a year.
A year.
And so
wow.
It was, everything had to line up. The market had to be trending really, really up or really, really down. Anything other than that, you couldn't enter based on the system. Then you had all these criteria that it had to meet. The price bar, he used the OHLC. It had to be crossing the 10 SMA. At the same time, the MACD was crossing in the same direction. At the same time, volume was up. At the same time, the William %R was. It was all these things that had to happen. And so for all of them to line up, it was really so rare. And when it did happen, it actually worked pretty well. But man, I was just chomping at the bit, trying to get involved. And I was anxious. I was wanting to get involved. And I was getting frustrated because I was just spending all this time monitoring it. Nothing was happening. And so what I ended up doing was started to force trades that didn't meet the criteria.
That was my question here on the. So how did he retire at age 30 if there's only, let's just go with 10 trades a year? Was his part of his system saying, hey, these trades don't come around very often, so when they do, just load the frickin' boat, let's go? Or was the whole retire by, I'm guessing that was just some sort of sales gimmick, because I don't understand how you can retire by age 39 or whatever it was when a system only produces less than one trade per month. So, here's a better way to ask it. What was the position sizing of the strategy? Just go big or go home, or what?
His recommendation was you go in with 20% of your account at the initial and the entry. And then as you watch it, if certain things happen, then you add on to your position. And you can add on, if everything lines up right, you add on as much as you can throw your whole account in there. That was so he was somewhat cautious to 20% initially, and then you just if you hit
cautious,
that one
20%
magic,
of your account.
Yeah, and then you throw it all in if it's going the right way. That was his thing. I'm
not sure how much you actually listen when I'm on these podcasts, and I'm just kidding for you listeners out there if you think I'm serious. But we
did you just say something, Ches?
Yeah, but we joke a lot about what do you guys have on your charts? This is towards generally the ends of the podcast, and then I go, do you have 4 or 5 indicators you blend together and you get one trade a decade? This guy almost seems he doesn't get one trade a decade, but 10 trades a year. That's a very, very picky criteria, and I like the fact that you said for the most part when it all lines up it works great. But I'm with you, Clay, in terms of unless you're just sending it and loaded the boat and everything's on the line here, I don't understand how you can really kind of make a bunch of money on that. But like I said, it's his strategy, and that's what got you involved in the market. It kind of helped you get the bug, and it was a start. So you said you started forcing trades after that because you just weren't waiting. So did you start to trim his criteria, or were you just kind of throwing darts, or at least kind of picking companies you kind of were familiar with?
Initially, I was rigorous with it. I was following it to the T. But like I said, I think I got one trade and then that one was it was a very, very small profit. And with the commission, I think I made like less than $10 on it. And then after that, I was waiting and waiting. So yeah, initially I started just trimming off some of the criteria, and I just
let me just stop you right there, because we love psychology on the show. I love to talk about it. Human mind is fascinating when it comes to trading. So what occurred in your mind that just justified you starting to crim criteria? Because from a marketing standpoint, this guy is saying, okay, it works, blah, 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 I'm retired, blah, 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 but you got to do this, this, and that. So how did your mind justify all of a sudden the trimming that you started to do?
I'd say it wasn't rational. I mean, actually, recently I was just looking at, I don't know if you've seen these behavioral economists, where they look at how people behave, and oftentimes in regard to money. And it's interesting because this was my situation. That they say that it's completely irrational, that people don't behave normal when it comes to money. And I saw this one example of this study they did where they actually auctioned off a $20 bill. And the guy who won, the highest bid was $28. And they were saying, why would you pay $28 for a 20? But it was kind of the opposite of that one podcast I heard with Ron, where I think he bought 110 pennies for $1 or something. But
exactly.
Good
It's the
reference.
exact opposite.
But so that was me. I mean, I just wasn't being rational. I was just frustrated, and I was like, if I sat down and just looked at it rationally, I would have known better, I guess, and not into those trades. But just said, I had caught the bug. I was like 3 years. I'm going to retire in 3 years, or at least have the ability to retire if I want to. And then started pushing those trades, and that's when I started, losing trades, and then I'd get frustrated, and then I'd do the revenge trade, and all the stuff I hear in all these podcasts. Gosh, this is so common. Like I did a lot of the same thing. But I guess to his credit, he did get me involved, like you said before. And the one thing he did get me to do was recognize that trading is a skill set that can be learned. That it's not like you're born a trader or you're born a losing trader. It's not, you can learn it. And so that, I credit him for that. And I'm glad it was worth the investment for that one thing. And if I can get to the point where I'm doing well, then I'm satisfied.
That's a great point. And back to the whole behavioral economist, and that makes sense. So when you stop and think about it, and when you look at the debt problems that people have within personal finances, debt problems is a simple matter of spending more than you make. Unless you're like the U.S. government, it is irrational.
It's simple arithmetic.
Yeah, it's simple third grade arithmetic. If you spend more than you make, you will have debt. Debt is a major problem, yet we have a debt crisis. So, Greg, you're absolutely right. That is a bizarre phenomenon, but it's really prevalent in society when it comes to money and people just acting irrationally. And then you throw in trading, and the pieces just make that much more sense now. I mean, it's already irrational enough in just basic personal finance, but then you get into the world of trading. No wonder why the 90% failure rate exists, because there's just so much stuff going on. So, and that is interesting and a good point on your part in terms of at least you knew or know that it's a learned skill, because you're right. It's not like I'm born, I run a couple miles a day, and all of a sudden I can compete in the Olympics. Like genetics has a lot to do with that, but I don't know if there's really any genetics that go into trading, as like you were saying, you're born or you're not born with it. So that's interesting point on your part. Now, with these losing trades, you were forcing them. You mentioned like making $10 on one. So were these losing trades like a death by 1,000 cuts, or some of these trades just, monstrous that were just like, holy, what is going on? I guess we love to hear about losing trades because that's when most people learn the best. So talk to us about these losing forced trades that you were experiencing.
Yeah, in the beginning, they were the death by 1,000 cuts. In the beginning, I would get in, and I would realize pretty quickly that, no, this was a mistake. I shouldn't have got in. I'd get out, and I'd lose, 50 here. I'd lose 100 there. I'd lose 30 there. But each one was, it wasn't that the quantity was so painful, but the frustration of just entering when I knew I shouldn't have entered. It would just like compound the whole thing. And then the frustration level would rise, and then I even started just outright gambling, where I'd say, okay, earnings is coming up on this one. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna buy some call options. So I'm gonna limit my risk. So if I lose it all, okay, I lose it all. I know how much I'm gonna lose, but man, if I win, and it seemed like 3 out of 4 of those I'd lose, and it just got to the point where I recognized, all right, if I'm gonna keep doing this, to preempt your next question, all told, I blew a 2,000 account almost completely, $2,000.
Over what kind of span of time?
Maybe it was 3 months.
Okay. No, I'm not, and I didn't ask that just to rub salt in the wound. I just want to kind of get it for context.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But so
actually, Chaz, if I may, that really summarizes how much you were forcing trades, because as you said, there's like maybe 10 trades a year for this guy, and here you blew an account in 3 months. So you had to been forcing trades all over the place.
Yeah, right. According to his criteria, without question. And so I just realized, all right, I hit that threshold, that critical mass where I realized, if I'm going to do this, I got to learn more. This is not enough, because my personality, I just can't sit and wait like he did and do these 10 trades a year. So I started looking on YouTube, and that's where I first came across some of Clay's videos and many others, of course. But yours really stood out, Clay, because you were the only ones that seemed to really. It's going to sound like I'm just kissing up to you, but they were the only ones that really seemed to come across with some sort of integrity. All the other ones just look like slick marketing. The girls. What
were they doing? I want to hear your definition of slick marketing.
Well, just showing the potential trader lifestyle, right? So he's on the beach, he's on the yacht. There's girls in bikinis all around. He goes in, he spends a little bit of time on his computer, then he goes out, he gets some lunch, and he comes back. And this was kind of the theme of all of these other guys. So when I saw you, I was kind of taken back, because I thought, you just seem to be more concerned with giving some value than you were with trying to use psychology to kind of influence the buyer. So I said, all right, this guy just seems straightforward. He seems to just I just want the content. I don't need to be entertained. I just want to learn how to do it. So
and Clay, I got to jump in here too, because it's funny you mentioned that, because I'm just thinking of the guy. Oh yeah, I was trading 10,000 shares on my yacht, and my Rolex fell off my hand while I was leaning over the side of the boat, putting a trade on my big iPad, and oh well, it doesn't matter. I'll buy another one later. But the first time I saw Clay's live trading video, this was years ago too. 2014, 2013. Clay, you were just like a wet blanket. You never got excited. You never did anything. And like these other guys I would see were like, booyah, baby, just peg that one. And I was like, I don't think people are supposed to like be that hyped up for like a job. Like I never went to my 9-to-5 job and went, hell yeah, spreadsheets. I just nailed it and sent it off to my boss. And I was like, I feel like that's, that was kind of why I like Clay. And I guess that kind of lays into the integrity thing, but it's just like, this is your job. And I mean, so I can understand why you kind of saw that. So, and go ahead.
I said, I got to weigh in here. It's because, Greg, I will say this: why can't more people be as smart as you? And I'm not even trying to, I am not trying to kiss up to you, but you said it perfectly. You understood they're trying to sell through psychology. And I just wish more people could realize that. It's called selling the dream. It's all psychological mind tricks that a simple Google search will reveal. I mean, so I just wish more people would realize that selling psychology, who is really doing that? Who's just kind of like, yeah, it is what it is, take it or leave it. So thank you, Greg, for just realizing the whole selling psychology, because Ches and I, in the world of customer service, we see that all the time, where people just don't understand that there is literally a science to marketing and selling, and what you described apparently works. So maybe we're the morons because we don't do it, because who knows, maybe we're missing out on a bunch of sales. But
we absolutely do. But however, the people we do appeal to are the ones who understand that trading is kind of a business. So I'm not going to lie, because when I first started getting involved in trading, just like you said, the flashy marketing and stuff, what they're really selling is not only the dream, but the fact that it's, well, not the fact, they're trying to tell you that it is easy to do. You can just do this. Just do this like me. And I was like, I don't think anyone understands the amount of complexity that goes into, even just, for you, Clay, your live trade videos. Everyone goes, oh yeah, he just arbitrarily does all this stuff. And I'm like, I promise you, Clay isn't just winging it and throwing orders out there, 500 shares at a clip. So, but they just think, oh yeah, I saw this guy do it, and look at him, he's on a boat doing it on an iPad on a sketchy satellite connection. I'm like, it's just not that easy. But that's what we all want. And I've talked about this before, and I'll get off my soapbox here in a minute, but here, especially in America, and it's probably a worldwide thing, we would rather buy our way out of problems to alleviate issues, take a pill for this, do something for that. And that's kind of where I feel like people fall down the rabbit hole of, oh, look at me, I made $10,000 today from my car sitting in traffic on the highway. And I was like, yeah, that's because they think it's that easy to do. But I'm off my soapbox now. I'm sorry.
Well, it's Greg's fault because he brought up all these good points that caused us to go off on a rant. So,
hey, before you change the topic,
no, keep going. Let's go, Greg. Pour it on.
I was just going to say, for anyone who's interested on that topic, there's a great book. It's called Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. And the author's name is Dr. Robert Cialdini. And in this book, he talks about how, as human beings, it's not even sometimes as deep as, what we think we want. There's almost like a reflexive reaction to certain stimuli that we get. Like one of them, real quick, is reciprocation. If somebody gives you an unsolicited gift that you don't ask for, you feel like an obligation to give back to that person. So he talks about how realtors will meet you and then they'll give you a gift, when they first meet. Just all the ways it's applied. And so there's all these different principles, and he goes through them one at a time, and it's fascinating. But what it does is it helps you to really recognize when you're dealing with a salesperson or when you're dealing with somebody who has some kind of integrity. And I'd recommend the book for anyone who's interested in that kind of thing. It's really, really fantastic.
Well, now that has me worried because if you sign up for my email list, you get a free gift in the sense of a guide. But full disclosure, that is just to get you to sign up for the email list. I don't. Oh, great.
I promise you, Clay hasn't taken that book, but now
great. I'm a
sure
scam
Nate's
artist now because I'm giving away a gift of a free. I would like to think the guide has value, though, the tools that I use. I mean, scanners and all that sort of stuff. But, oh, great. Greg just called me a scammer. Thanks, Greg. Anyway, so
read it. It's fantastic.
Okay, so you realized that you were not into you realized selling psychology, and you came across my videos. Out of curiosity, do you remember what videos you originally came across? Was it live trades, video charts, or another one?
It wasn't live trades. It was just some of the ones you were teaching little tips. I think the very first one I saw was you talked about some kind of a math.
Oh, the math trap.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
And then
trader quick tip. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those kinds of videos. But you were just very laid back, and I somehow found out. I don't know if I went to your website. I don't remember, but I found out that you were an engineer and all these things. I thought, okay, he seems all about the numbers, all about the math, and that was the way you came across in the videos too. So I thought, all right, if I'm going to do this, this is what I need. I need someone who's just going to teach me how to do it. And I realized too that I needed. One of the things that I really got from that initial class, one of the other things I got was I knew that system inside and out. I mean, I studied it. I really put in the effort. I learned it. And very quickly I realized that, everyone talks about education. You need education. Well, that's kind of a given. I mean, if you don't have the education, it's crazy. But even having the education, there's so much more that goes into it. I totally underestimated the emotional component. So I figured I needed such a structured system that I could lean on the rubrics of the system and let that be my boundary, so to speak. So I wouldn't, because the emotions are so strong that education just isn't enough. So that your personality, the way you seem to be teaching, and it just seemed to me like, all right, if I'm going to do this is the one I'm going with this one.
And what was that first step that you took? Was it just joining the trading community? Was it a course? What was your first kind of as you dipped your toe in the water, what was that process as far as how you got involved with the clay trader community?
The first thing I did was I sent you a few emails, and you responded very fast. And then I decided to do the free webinar with a picture of you with the sledgehammer on there about killing stress, I think. I don't remember the title of it.
It's now the Banhammer emblem in our chat.
Yeah.
Thank you for that photo.
So, I did that webinar. And that webinar pretty much confirmed kind of what I was thinking from seeing some of the videos, was that you were very thorough. You were extremely thorough. Even the fact that I think the day of the webinar, I think I received 3 or 4 emails from you guys saying, okay, it's coming up. Are you ready? I thought, man, this guy's really on the ball, because, to run a business isn't easy. But to have everything so organized and lined up, and the way you had it set up, I thought, okay, this is good. And then the webinar was just so detailed and thorough on the topic, and I thought, if he's going to teach how to trade the same way, I'm in. And I've been, penny wise and dollar foolish so many times in my life. I thought, I'm just going to do the CTU. So I just did CTU. That was last April. This April, 2017, April. But I've been going through slow because we're a busy family. We've got 5 kids. I work full time. Full time, and we're also homeschooling the three oldest ones right now. We got third grade, kindergarten, and preschool. So plus we're active in the church. So we're just super busy. So usually I get to watch the classes when everyone's in bed. My wife's in bed, and then I'm like, all right. I go down to the computer and I just go till I nod off on the computer, and I'm like, all right, time to go to bed.
And
So.
And I mean, that's the kind of cool thing about how everything is structured here, and I'm not going to name any competitors or anything who only give you access to their content for 3 months and charge you twice as much or more. But anyways, it's for that exact reason.
Oh, man.
It's
Cue
it's
back
for that
to last
exact-
week's, or no, that wasn't last week's, but yeah,
It was a couple
at the
ago,
time
but
of this
it's-
recording, yeah.
But it's for those exact reasons, is that you understand that there's only a certain amount of time you can dedicate to it, and that's going to change, especially with kids and just kind of your commitments and stuff. So, I mean, it's you don't have to rush it. Like, when nobody who joins this has to set aside hours a day, 5 days a week, and kind of do that. But I want to loop back a little bit to one kind of gem that I think you now kind of understand. But you said you didn't really take into account the emotions. And Clay, I want you to weigh in after I kind of finish my thought here, but I was in full agreement with you that I had no idea until I had money on the line how foolish and reactive and how you just do the stupidest things in the moment that have absolutely no logic behind them. But once you have a structure, something to lean on, you can say, well, my body is telling me that I'm unhappy right now and I want to sell for the small profit, but my system that I learned tells me that the trade is still good. And, you can lean on that stuff and start acting more logically, more robotic, how kind of, the whole title of the course is. But I was in the same exact boat that I really underestimated the psychology side of stuff and the emotions. And I've actually personally, in my own life, not only just for trading, but life in general, has tried to I focus a lot more on the psychology side of stuff versus looking for the holy grail when I was kind of new. But what I want to kind of ask Clay, because Clay, you've done this for over 10 years. So I'm not sure if you remember how you used to feel when you put trades on, because now you can just tell us in the classes, like, stop being foolish, follow what, your system and your plan is. But did you ever trade kind of emotionally back when you started? Because it's been a long time now, so I'm sure that's all repressed and you kind of, have it under wraps. But I'm kind of interested to hear that because I've never actually asked you how that was in the beginning for you.
In the beginning, I was too stupid to even know what was going on. I remember looking at my penny stock portfolio, and I owned like all sorts of different stocks. Of course, my core position
you were diversified, yeah.
I was diversified, but my core position was that muffler company that we've talked about many times before. But yeah, it's I almost, now that this is good, that was a good question, because reflecting, I was just so stupid and I was such a moron that I really didn't feel any emotions. I read some stuff on a message board. I got it all figured out. I'm diversified. So I don't even know if I should finish college, because there was I don't think there was emotion, to be honest, in reflection, because I was just that stupid when I got started. So that's why if I ever confront you in the customer service box or in the chat room and say, yeah, you're just being stupid, like, I say that because I know what stupid is, because that was the epitome of stupid. So
yeah, we've already been there, right?
Yeah, but as far as emotion now, the news flash here is you're always going to deal with emotion. The key, though, is you need to be able to recognize the emotions, be self-aware that you're being tempted in one way or the other, and then being able to, deploy strategies, if you will, that kind of kick the voices to the curb. So, that's definitely kind of where I'm at now, and where I will always be. Is you can never simply eliminate emotions, because they're always going to be there. The key is identify them and be proactive against them. So my question here, Greg, getting back, Greg, you're very good at pushing the rant button. You're just causing Ches and I to go off on these rants. So you are quite the button pusher, as my wife would say. Actually, I have 4 kids, so I'm curious, what are the age ranges of your kids?
Our oldest is 8. Then we have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old. 8, 5, 4, 2, and 6 months.
You sound like me.
You guys both got full houses.
Yeah, wow. And, well, awesome. That's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing kids, but I can relate, Greg. When Greg says that he's just finding time whenever he can, there's really no way to trust us other than go and have the amount of kids that Greg and I both have in the time span and then deal with it. But don't do that. I mean, don't
At least
just
offer to
trust us.
babysit that amount of kids
Yeah.
first before you
There
decide
you
to go
go,
and have 5 kids and wing it.
You really are an asset to this podcast. Yeah, go babysit. That would be a much better way to experience what Greg and I
Go
are
babysit
talking
for
about
Greg
here.
or Clay, and then you'll
Yeah, there
understand.
we go. No, Ches. I do not want some of these internet people showing up at my. You see what we have to deal with. Anyway, so another tangent, but you approach and you get CTU, and it sounds like you had a little bit of charting history because you mentioned the open, high, low, close bars, OHLC bars. So did the system that you had learned previously, was that super technical heavy in terms of candlesticks and patterns? Or was it more relying on all those different indicators? You had mentioned MACD and the Williams percentage and all that sort of stuff. So I guess here's a better way to ask the question. Thank you for your patience, Greg. What was your understanding? What was your kind of frame of reference of technical analysis going into the CTU program?
Well, just what I learned in his program, which was, like I said, it was very technical heavy in terms of the trade itself. He did recommend some fundamentals when you're selecting your stop, when you're making your watch list. So he used the IBD, and he had a little criteria you'd go through. They have this big appendix every Saturday, and you would go through the appendix, and he had this little system to pick out the ones that were. He was looking for growth stock, so you were looking for those. And then once you had those, everything was technical. But interestingly, I don't know if it was because it was just swing trading. It was zero candlestick. It was only the OHLC bar. But he used the moving averages and the MACD and the Williams percentage R and the volume. So I had been exposed to all that stuff. But the degree of the depth into the technical chart was nothing at all like your course. I've been through robotic trading, and I'm halfway through the skill sharpening right now.
So you probably really hate my voice right now, don't you?
No, you know what? I like I said, I like the fact, I relish in the fact that it is what it is. That I'm just getting, like I said, I'm not looking to be entertained. I'm looking to, I could always go just watch a movie if I want that, but I really want to learn it, and I want to learn it well, and I want to be able to do this so where I can cut back on my work time, with the kids and stuff. I see how fast the time goes, and I don't want to miss, because I work about 10 hours a day, and I don't want to do that for the youth of all the
You'd
kids.
prefer to stop doing that before you end up in the grave, and you'd like to spend some time with your family and your kids and kind of watch them grow up and stuff like that. And trading can definitely offer that. And the cool thing about it is that you understand. You didn't come into this. You never even entered the market with the idea of getting rich quick. So you have realistic expectations of, I'd like to learn the process. I'd like to learn how to not do foolish things like I've done in the past. I don't want to be one of these horror stories I've heard. So I'm going to kind of take the time and go through kind of the business. So for context here, I guess, how many courses or where are you actually at in CTU?
Halfway through skill sharpening.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
sorry if I missed that, but okay, cool. Well, then
fine.
you're getting through there, and obviously you'll be on the kind of risk course next. And I mean, Clay, correct me if I'm wrong, but once you understand kind of how to read charts and structure trade plans with your risk, he could pretty much start paper trading, or even start to get involved in the market in a small way. I want to asterisk there on in a small way.
Absolutely, and that's a good segue into my question, which was going to be, and maybe you don't know this, and that's perfectly fine, but when you are to the point where, as Ches just described, you want to start to get your feet wet in a small kind of way, are you still looking at options, or do you want to do stocks? I mean, what is kind of the vehicle that at this point in time you kind of are envisioning, dipping your toe in the water with?
I'm envisioning the options trading, directional trading at this point. So I like that. I just like the leverage it affords you. That not only that I can get in and start smaller and get more bang for my buck, so to speak, but if I do get to the point where I'm comfortable enough to enter in with larger positions, it's magnified that much more, the returns. So, and of course the potential loss too. But no, I like that. It seems to fit in pretty well with just like I've heard you say many times. Once you understand the chart, the equity chart, if you can trade equities, it's just a little bit of a very small tweak to apply that to buying puts and calls.
Absolutely. And you made the comment you like the leverage, you get more bang for your buck. A lot of listeners out there probably have no idea what do you mean, why is that the case. So I guess if you don't have to get too technical, but explain what you mean by more leverage and why in your mind that's more bang for your buck.
So I can control, with options, I can control a large amount of shares for a small amount of money. So if there's a stock that's $100 a share, I don't have to. I can control 1,000 shares for a fraction of what I would. I would have to have $100,000 to control 1,000 shares of an equity. But in options, maybe that option sells for $1.50, and now $1,500, and I'm controlling 1,000 shares. So it's just tremendous, the difference.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is, as well as Clay and I deal with the customer service side all the time, and people default to. I mean, we get more questions about this than probably anybody else. How do I trade penny stocks so they don't have a big account? And just like you were saying, that's actually why I got involved in options in the first place. I didn't want to trade these liquid, no-name things that get pumped and dumped. I'd rather, you could be making trades with as little as like $10 to $25 in things like Apple, Google, Facebook, Netflix, and you might only control 100 shares, but if you're 100 shares of a stock that's $150 and you paid $25 for it, granted it's probably an out-of-the-money option that's probably not going to go anywhere. Regardless of the point, you could trade larger names, and just like you said, you're not outlaying six figures to trade Google or Amazon or something like that. You can really kind of keep it small. So I'm fully with you. Did you ever have any interest in kind of penny stocks or any of that at all? I know you kind of started with the option stuff, but did you ever even look down that route of flashy marketing nonsense, or did you steer clear of that?
No, I mean, like I said, my first real exposure, like I didn't dare dip my toe in it until I thought I knew what I was doing. And so the first thing I did was take this other class. And he was very strict about $10 and above, nothing under $10 per share. And he had a lot of reasons why he explained that. But so that was kind of my first exposure to it. So that was kind of, I don't want to say indoctrinated into me, but that was really hammered into my mind. So no, I never even knew anything about penny stocks. I mean, when I started listening to the podcast and I heard like 0001, I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that existed. But
yeah, that's and no bid exists too, which is just still blows my mind to this day. Where it's like literally a stock, no bid means there's literally nobody out there that wants to buy it. Like you cannot sell. That's and it goes from 0001 and then it's done. There is no 4 zeros and then a 1. But it is funny when you bring that up because most people are like, wait, what? I thought stocks trade for like $25. Nope. 0.0001 is what you could buy a stock for. But there is a reason why it's at that price. And the other thing to kind of just piggyback that I want to make a quick point of, because we kind of have this underlying theme of fancy marketing and persuasion and influence. What so many do out there, and what a big name out there does, and I won't name any names, is brilliant marketing, but they take the concept of penny stocks are garbage, and they all go down, and then shorting. So short penny stocks because they all go down. Now, that is a very general statement, and if only it was that easy, and then that is their whole premise. The cool thing about options, though, because if you short a penny stock, the lowest it can go is $1, so the best you can do is 100%. But in the world of options, with just the way puts and such work, you can quote-unquote short a stock, if you will, with puts, and you can make over 100% on the short side. Wait, but you just said on the short side the best you can do is 100%. Again, the power of options. So the whole shorting penny stocks because all penny stocks are garbage and go down, there's so much more to it than that, and there's so much better choices out there from a risk versus reward perspective, and one of those being options itself. So you have plans up. Let me ask this. Do you have a time frame that you'd like to, let's just say, get involved in some paper trading or get your feet wet? Or is it just literally, I'm a super busy guy, so I'm just going to take it day by day. I'm not going to set any arbitrary timelines out there for myself. Or is there some sort of timeline?
No, there is. I mean, I said it, and then I listen to all these podcasts, and I hear about people's stories and talking about they seem to always go way past their goal. But my goal is my original goal was to be able to be through robotic training, skill sharpening, the shorting class, RVR and options simplified by the end of this year. So at this pace, it's not going to happen, but we'll see. Now that I'm through robotic training, maybe I can pick up the pace. We'll see. Maybe I'll just have to burn the candle at both ends a little more. But, if it goes past it, no big deal. Work is good. But I would like to be able to be through those classes and actively paper trading and moving towards, live trading by the end of this year.
May I offer my 2 cents opinion?
Please.
Okay. You said the magic words, work is good, and I don't know how much you are familiar with all the podcasts, but work is the only guaranteed trade that exists out there. So for listeners, if you want a guaranteed trade that's going to give you money, get a job, because unless you're working for some sketchy underground drug dealer, maybe you won't get a paycheck. But assuming you work at just a normal job, you will get money. So, Greg, when you say work is good, that tells me you have total peace of mind from that perspective. So, just take your time. I mean, if you don't get through it by the end of the year, the markets are going nowhere. In your own words, work is good. So, truly no need to force the education, if you will, because you already experienced that with trading, and it is very possible to force education by just flying through things. And I talked about this before, but it's like I always flash back to school. You read a page of a book, and you get there like, what did I just read? I have no idea what I just read. The same can be done with education of any type, including trading education. So my 2 cents, if work is good, then just go at your own pace, because I understand life is hectic. And, just because you're awake and staring at a screen listening to my voice doesn't mean you're retaining anything that you're hearing. So that is just my 2 cents, is truly in your situation, based off the way you're talking and your kind of just outlook on life and work, knowing work is good. Ches, would you agree? Truly no need to rush in this situation at all.
Yeah, there's absolutely no need to rush, because while we all want to kind of jump into the market's going to be there tomorrow. And in fact, it's those times when you want to jump in the market so badly, it's most likely a time that you should avoid the market at all costs, because you're just not ready yet. But yeah, I would fully agree.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
And looking at the time, we'll have to start to wrap things. We will definitely have to have you back, because I don't know where the time has gone, but this is time has flown for sure. But I guess, again, with the theme of psychology and all that, as it stands right now, in the spirit of trying to be proactive with emotions, voices that may show up, what are some weaknesses that you can potentially see yourself maybe falling into, or maybe already see them kind of creeping in different ways? So what are some weaknesses, maybe not the best word, but maybe some things that you know that you need to be extra aware of as you continue to progress forward?
Oh, without question. I mean, my experience before was that, like I said, I knew that system backwards and forwards. And in spite of that, I went outside of it because I got frustrated. And so I'm aware of that. And that's something that I'm trying to think. I hear everyone speaking about how it's all mental, and I can see how it is. So I've been thinking about what are ways that I can remove that, the way we all react irrationally around money. How can I do that? I was thinking, maybe I can, I don't know, what do you guys think? I was thinking, I hear people talking about winning streaks and stuff. Maybe instead of a streak of green days, I can try to have a streak of days where I don't break the rules. And that would be like something to celebrate.
I'm going to start crying here. I'm going to start crying here because there's a book I'm reading, and Clay, I don't know if you've heard this before, but some famous coach that won like 1,500 college football or basketball games or something. Anyways, his whole thing was about a prize fighter day, and his whole focus had nothing to do with results, and it was only if you follow the process, you're having a great day, because it's the process that will do that. I'm going to cry over here. If you could just have streaks of following the process without breaking the rules or bending or
good stuff,
doing something impulsively. It's my turn to cry. I'm sorry. I got to go, Clay. Goodbye.
Adios, muchacho. That's good stuff. Chaz, I think you have a question, though, about strengths.
I do. So,
are you done crying? I'm not going to let you off the hook that much. I'm not that sensitive.
Yeah, I was going to see if you just pick it up from there. But, yeah, so I guess what would you say you feel like is your strengths going in? Because you're already making me cry with things you're saying before I ask this question. But what do you think is an advantage for you, kind of coming into this as a clean slate, taking your time and doing it correct?
I think probably being so early on in the process, I think right now my biggest strength is just the experience that I've had, although it's limited. I've kind of experienced the power of the emotions and how they can just lead you astray. And so just kind of an awareness of that. Like an analogy I can think of is sometimes people come to me to lose weight, and I always tell them, don't focus on the number on the scale, because that can lead people to do silly things. If the only goal is to make that number go down, people make themselves vomit to do that, but that's not healthy, right? People take pills that kill their kidneys, but that's not good either. I could chop your arm off and that you're going to lose weight, but I wouldn't recommend that either.
I love this analogy.
That's
Craig, I love you. Oh my goodness, this is good stuff, Ches.
So focus on the healthy lifestyle habits, and the extra weight will come off. So in context of trading, if I can just focus on, again, going back to the structure of a system that, they say any athlete's only as good as the faith he has in his coach. So if I'm really comfortable with the system, if I trust what I'm learning, then I can lean on that when the emotions start, creeping up the back of my neck, and I can just kind of fall back on the structure. So that's kind of my hope, and what I think maybe is my only strength at this point is that I've had that experience. I know how strong the emotions can be and how they can lead you to do things that are completely irrational, completely just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. That scale thing was perfect, and I mean, you absolutely nailed it. In my mind, it really, that's what got the adrenaline flowing. For those of you that are not aware, if you go back and watch the videos of mine from like 3 years ago, so like 2013-ish, 14-ish, I was a little bit of a plumper of a lad. I'll just leave it at that. But the smartest thing I ever did in my weight loss journey is I never stepped. I haven't been on a scale in like 3 years. The best way to measure your growth, quote unquote, in terms of losing weight and getting healthy is by the belt buckles, by the size of pants you wear. When the pants get looser on you, that's a good sign. Same with your trading. If you're focusing on the wrong things, it's going to lead you astray. And believe it or not, your success as a trader has nothing to do with if your account is growing or not. A blind monkey can grow their account by throwing darts and just randomly landing on a few good trades. The true success, the true belt buckle, if you will, when it comes to trading, is how you're doing when you're losing. Is a one loss wiping away 3 weeks worth of gains? Do all of a sudden you just go on a 10 streak losing streak? It's all about losing in the world of trading, and that's kind of the belt buckle that you need to focus on. And I don't know if that even makes, in my mind, that makes perfect sense, so I'm just going to leave it there. But sometimes I dig myself a little too deep with these analogies, and I get lost in my own magical world.
Where do we start again?
But did that make relative sense, Ches and Greg?
Yes. I'm with you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So, all right, I hope both of you are just not humoring me and being polite individuals. But, yeah, we definitely got to wrap things up here. So, Ches, do you want me to take the time machine, or do you want to take it?
I'll lend it to you. I'm feeling generous today.
Thank you. So, I know you're aware of this, Greg, since you've listened to other past podcasts. But Ches does have a time machine. And before I ask it, because you have done a lot of things right, other than minus the forcing trades things, but I mean, you really had a good outlook on all this. So I'm very curious to know what your answer to this is going to be. But if Ches were to lend you his time machine and you can go back to the start of all this, what would be that one bit of advice that you'd give yourself?
Yeah, I'm hesitant just because I think had I not, made those mistakes, that maybe today I wouldn't understand the power of the emotional influence, and then I'd have the same problem after going through your course. But so in a sense, I appreciate that I went through it. But I guess if I could, in a perfect world, I would say, no, I would purchase this course instead of the other one first, because it's just the amount of information. I think robotic trading was what? I don't know, 16, 17 hours.
Yeah.
That other course was 8 hours, and it was more expensive than CTU.
Don't tell me that, Greg. I was having a good night. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It was unbelievable. But No, but that's, to your credit, Clay. I mean, you deliver, you over deliver. So, I would say I would do this course first. I would go back, and knowing that, I would take this course first, and I would be telling myself about the emotion.
If you make it down to the Florida community meetup, which is scheduled
he's in Columbia. He's got to go up.
Oh yeah. Okay, so if you come up to there, I'm gonna give you a big hug because I'm also in the boat of everything you go through is a process of getting you to where you're at right now, and it all serves a purpose at some point. So, Clay, you got a good guest on.
This
today.
is the
you
first
got, like,
time, Greg. I think this is the top because I don't think anybody's ever gotten Ches this emotional, and that's. We're well into the hundreds of the podcasts here, so maybe there's been a couple other guests, but yeah, you've pressed some Ches buttons for sure. This is good stuff. So Ches, why don't we take it to a little bit? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is where it could all turn around and fall apart quickly though, because this is the only question Clay really wants to know. What is your favorite movie?
Yeah, I used to watch way too much TV as a kid, so I watched a ton of movies, and I still love them. And my taste changed a lot over the years. I remember being a kid and, it was Rocky Balboa. And then in my adolescent years, I was a big Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. I liked Bloodsport. I knew the whole movie by heart. And then getting older, it changed. For a while, it was Braveheart. A Few Good Men was up there for a while.
You're making me cry now. This is all good stuff. Where's this going?
But today, maybe it's going to throw you a little curveball, but my favorite movie right now is actually Les Miserables, but not the musical. There was a version they did in the 90s with Liam Neeson, played Jean Valjean, and Jeffrey Rush and Uma Thurman. It's really, really, really good. That movie, if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend it.
That's quite the cast.
Yeah, that's...
it's really good.
I'm not going to lie, after you list Braveheart and A Few Good Men, that was a good kind of a hook there, because I was not expecting that. No judgments on my part. Isn't that movie like 4 hours long, though? Or is it worth it?
The book is like a phone book, but the movie itself is that movie. Yeah, I mean, like always, they always leave a lot out of in the movie. You can't fit it all in there. But no, I think that movie was about 2 hours, maybe a little over 2 hours. But you got to get the one in the 90s that was not the musical. Okay. I didn't really enjoy the musical, to be honest.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because I know they did one a few years ago with like Hugh Jackman and stuff like that. That wasn't musical. Okay, so this one wasn't a musical at all. Got it. So
no.
Yeah, maybe my wife and I will have to check that one out. So interesting. Now I'm actually very curious on this one because I like to pack in some calories every now and then. Down in Columbia, I guess it doesn't have to be in Columbia, but I'm curious. What is your favorite meal and dessert wise?
My favorite meal, which I don't actually have that often, would be I love surf and turf. If you've ever had that, so it's basically filet mignon and lobster tail.
That's pure. That's. If you don't like that, then we should just ship you off to North Korea because you're a communist, and as far as I'm concerned. So I mean, that's. Ches, you can get behind surf and turf. Oh, wait, you will die. Ches will die if he eats surf and turf.
This is where I was going to bring it up. We have had guests in the past who do enjoy surf and turf, and what I always say is that Kelly's family loves surf and turf. They love to do it for like any kind of event or if we come to visit them or whatever. And the benefit for me is that they all fill up on lobster, and then I get a double portion of steak. So I'm living good and doing just fine. But yeah, so I would die if I ate lobster. So if you want to try to kill me, you can blend it up and put it into something and hide it. But that's the running joke with my wife, is that she knows how to murder me silently. But anyways, if I die before the next podcast is aired, you know why. What do you do for fun and hobbies kind of outside of the market? You have quite a full schedule, so I'm kind of interested to hear if you have, any time outside of the market to do that.
Yeah, I had to give up some of that stuff to do the courses, but probably my biggest guilty pleasure is I love the UFC. I love watching the UFC. So that's when I had free time, but that was the thing I gave up so I can have time to go through these courses. But I like to read. But these days, everything I'm reading is mostly books like, the Narnia Chronicles and stuff for the kids. So.
Yeah, I can relate there. We're big on kind of books on tape. My wife finally just discovered Audible, and all I keep getting in my email is purchase for $2.95 of an Audible book. It's just like, alrighty then.
The prices are so good.
Yeah, it's hard to complain. I'm not gonna go like, you just spent $1.95 so our kids could listen to something halfway. I'm cheap, but I'm not. I won't quite be that cheap. But out on the UFC note, who did you have between McGregor and or not Weatherfield. Who was the guy he fought? Why can't I think of it?
Mayweather.
Mayweather. Did you? Were you on the UFC side, or were you going with the professional boxer?
Well, my brain was going with the professional boxer, but my heart was with McGregor. But
Good answer.
the chances of him winning were, slim to none. It's like that. It's like playing earnings.
It is. It's just like trading right there. Your head may be in one direction, but your heart may be someplace else. Go with your head when it comes to things, because especially in trading. But I like that answer quite a bit. So, final question here, and then we will wrap things up. 3 words, and the 3 words that you would personally associate with what you kind of envision as successful trading. So I'll put a little twist, given that you are not live trading. So what are the 3 words that you're kind of striving for after you do get going with the actual trading?
Yeah, I mean, I think tenacity is one. I think you get punched in the face so many times, and you got to be able to keep moving forward. So I think that's one. Structure, I think, is a biggie. Like I was saying before, I think I imagine that if I have enough structure, that I can remove as much of the emotion as is possible. I'll just lean on the structure. And the third, I'd say, you kind of have to have a short memory. I remember people used to talk about, I'm not a Green Bay Packers fan, never have been, but they used to talk about Brett Favre, how one of his great qualities was that he had such a short memory. Like, he'd throw 5 interceptions in a game, but it wouldn't bring him down. He'd still go out there with the same confidence, and then he'd throw a touchdown and win the game at the last second. So I think in trading, not to be kind of a loose cannon with it, but if you can not let the losers hit you personally, and just have that short memory and just say, okay, listen, I'm just going to get back into the system, and all right, what's step 1, what's step 2, what's step 3, and keep moving forward in spite of the pain of the loss.
You're going to retire sooner than you think if you take everything you've just said and apply it to trading, because that's where most people have a fall down the hole. Recency effect is what it's called, and it is just can wreak absolute havoc on your trading. I've been a victim of it, but you got to kind of learn from it and move on. But I mean, you've been a great guest. I want to just send a thank
cry
you
in
for
the corner,
touching on
Chez.
Seriously, touching on a lot of stuff that most people kind of gloss over. They just say, I would need the perfect system, and then it just works. And it's like, no, there's a lot more things that kind of go into it. But seriously, thank you for being a guest today. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
And I will piggyback off of that and also offer up my thanks. And will you come back and update us at some point in the future? This was a great talk.
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
Awesome. I would love to have you back for sure. And I'm glad to hear that you would take us up on that offer. So, again, Greg, we are actually doing this on it is 8 o'clock Eastern time right now on a Wednesday night as we're recording this. So, Greg, thank you very much for taking time out of what we've established as a very busy schedule.
My pleasure.
For you listeners out there, a few final things. But first, if you're listening on YouTube, then check out the rest of the channel. There's a lot of other videos that actually have video. Live trades, quick tip videos that we talked about. So check those out. Hopefully you decide to subscribe to the channel. But if anything, if you enjoy the interview, just click the like button on the video itself. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, make sure to subscribe so you know when new content is coming out. And it really helps us out on iTunes if you could leave us a review and rating there. It just helps us get our name out there. So if you're enjoying what we produce here, then something like that really does help spread the word. And then finally, if you're listening on the website, click that share button, and down below the video you can leave comments, and we do read those and we will reply. So if you have anything you want to say or chime in or give thoughts, whatever, feel free to do it, and we will certainly read it and reply. So thank you again to our esteemed co-host Chez. Thank you very much to our very busy person, yet he still fit us in, Greg, and I look forward to talking to him again. And most importantly, thank you to listeners out there. We will see you back next week.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.